registered sex offenders crying and begging, saying, I don't want to hurt another child. And this is from a healthcare worker in California saying, I don't want to hurt another child. I need this prescription filled so that I don't harm another child. And they are rejecting that prescription. But then you have them chemically castrating our children. I mean, they're completely, excuse my language, but ass backwards. They're ass backwards.
But I'm just curious, though. This is where the sex trafficking part becomes confusing. So if you were to be like a porn star that was a part of like AVN or some of the older, and today I'm sure it's Brazzers probably has something similar. I think they even had a reality show where people were trying to become porn stars. And how they were filtering the women out is that you would get a dude who's like awkward, right? And then you get like a woman who was, she's like, I just can't do this. No, I just can't do this. Whereas, like, you're literally there to perform. And yeah, he's going to insert his penis in a bunch of different orifices and all of that stuff. I get it. It's uncomfortable. It's not a job for everybody. I wouldn't be a porn star. And, you know, and people don't realize, like, guys might think, like, oh, this is such a cool job. No, like, you're going to have a girl giving you a blowjob. I mean, I knew people in the industry. You're going to have, like, a dude who's literally, like, giving you kind of a bear hug, wrapping a camera, wrapping his arms around you so he can hold a camera to give, like, a shot down while she's, like, giving you a blowjob. All kinds of, like, weird shit. There's there is zero privacy. I mean, you're going to have a bunch of dudes. I'm somebody who just, like, that would kill a boner personally for me. Like, I don't want a dude touching me if I'm yeah. It's a shitty job. But I would say that, like, okay, so you have to have sex with people you would otherwise not want to have sex with. Like, if you work in porn. Do you think that is exploitative?
I think that
they are getting a financial reward for it.
I think that there's a lot of these sex workers and the ones that I've spoken to that feel contractually obligated to fulfill their contract, and they feel like they're going to be legally penalized if they don't. Just look at your job. If they give you a task and if at a moment's notice you decide, I don't want to do this and I'm going to quit my job, you have every right to gather your belongings and to quit your job. You can leave.
Yeah, but if I'm under contract, let's just say I'm a musician and I say, you know what, because these are, I hate using this term, but in a way, performance artists. If you are an artist, a performance artist in particular, if you quit mid, I don't know, you have a show that's going on even locally, but or if you're on tour and you quit, like, oh yeah, dude, you're financially they're gonna fuck you every way they can. No, I see women. This is where it becomes very tricky. It's just like, I want to be a porn star and make a lot of money, but somehow I want this is a very disgusting line of work, but yet somehow I want to, I don't know, have butterflies in my stomach every time I'm doing this disgusting shit. And the guy is somehow going to be somebody I maybe find attractive or something. Like that is, you're literally, part of the reason women will do this is they get paid more than they otherwise would, because it's a very it's a line of work with a lot of stigma, and it's also just gross, and a lot of people just wouldn't stomach it.
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna jump in. Sorry, on silence. Allie, I don't know, where are we going with this again? I forget. We got on this subject. I didn't know if you wanted to have some final comments. I don't know if you want to end there, and then we can probably maybe circle back. Oh, it was Epstein files. That's why we got on this, right? And then I just didn't know if anybody has actually opened up those files and looked at those various things that have been mentioned so far. Has anybody done that yet? I don't know. On stage, Margot, Joe, have you guys even looked at any of the files yet? I don't know.
So I don't know exactly what was being communicated about the Epstein thing. Obviously, this has to be taken with the utmost care because we have victims, survivors. We have a lot of pieces at play here when it comes to this. And when you say you want justice, like the American people want to know what happened, but awareness is one thing, justice is another. And so, because of these people, because they come from money and influence and power, to ensure true justice, you have to make sure that they're not going to get off with a slap on the wrist. They're not going to get off on a technicality. And especially if they're from a foreign country or part of a foreign government, that's going to be extra challenging. So it's going to be interesting to see what information they release. I haven't looked at the files, but I know that they have to make sure that every single I is dotted, every single T is crossed, so not as to re-traumatize the victims, and make sure that they make a hard stance on anybody that traffics individuals. I will tell you that Epstein and his parties, like Diddy parties and everything like that, those are the large-scale operations, but they're happening on small scales in every city, in every state across this country. And so this is also going to serve as a reminder for every single trafficker out there that even at Epstein's level, you're not untouchable. At Diddy's level, you're not untouchable. And so they are going to go after these crimes with the utmost ferocity and make sure that every single individual that was involved is behind bars. But really, we need to, I'm going to echo it time and time again, that it's local, state, and then federal levels. We need to make sure that we're aware of what's going on at our local levels. Our law enforcement's involved. Our prosecutors are prosecuting. Our district attorneys are doing what they need to do, and our judges are slapping on the harshest penalties they can, and not just pleading out everything just to get a win on their, win-loss record and move on to the next, case that they have. This is very important, and whether you're affecting men, women, or children, we need to be handling this crime at the highest levels and make sure that they all end up behind bars.
I'm just curious, Ollie, how did you get involved in this? I guess into looking into child or not child necessarily, but just sexual exploitation and human trafficking in general.
I introduced legislation in Florida that got introduced, passed, and signed into law that made it a felony 3 for adults to sexually groom minors, and then we got it in a couple other states, and then I met my now business partner who is working to combat human trafficking, and so we've done that by examining human trafficking through the lens of domestic trafficking. We've been to the border when it was open, the border when it was closed, Mexico, Central America, South America, interviewed incarcerated traffickers. So we're trying to really get a full 360-degree view of trafficking, not just inside the United States, but across North America and across the world. So we work with Interpol and other governments as well.
I agree with you. And I would say the one thing, and this is something I did not know up until a couple of years ago, but when it comes to the women that, even girls, and I'm not talking 16, 17-year-olds, I'm talking like 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old girls, apparently, while all of this mess was happening under Biden, it was pretty much, I guess it was accepted by the women that were ending up having to be smuggled through Mexico, that they were going to get raped. And this was happening to young women really little girls, and but women as well. And it was mind-boggling. And the sheer, and this was not coming from from ICE or Border Patrol at the time, because under Biden they wouldn't really say anything, but the local sheriffs, they were saying, like, man, if you had to know what these women had to go through and like what we find on them, they have a shit ton of condoms, they have their contraceptives, it's basically, it was It's really fucking disgusting. I mean,
when you have
I don't know how to solve that problem in Mexico.
When you have 8-year-olds that are crossing the border and then they have STDs and 12-year-olds that are pregnant, and I will tell you that it's not just girls and women, it's men and boys too. When you have boys that have incontinence issues because they've been exploited, in that way too. It's something we need to really be aware of. We need to be aware that there's an industry for every single type. There are infants, there are as young as 6 months old. There's a market for that, and we've communicated with traffickers that know that there's a market for that because they fill those requests. So people need to understand how pervasive this issue is. And
Matt,
are you saying
Matt, talk to the mic a moment.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that, Allie. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Oh, wait, Alan, hold on. Bader's going to go, then you can come behind.
Yeah, I want to respond.
Also,
The convo will continue. Just toss me the mic in a
Bader,
second.
Bader, 1 second. Hey, on silence, can you cue up the clip in a little bit? I want to play the clip, too, that you have.
Yeah, I'll play it.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Okay, Bader, go ahead. You're on.
Yeah, I just want everyone to understand. So a few things. This room is a major crossover episode right now. There are a whole bunch of my dear friends from conservative X spaces that decided to pop over here and get a feel for what it's all about. But I want to give an extra special shout out. Allie Hopper, who you just heard from, is literally doing the Lord's work in this field. And she is so humble. She doesn't ask for clout. She doesn't chase clout. She just literally is doing the Lord's work for victims. And you guys got to hear an opportunity for someone who has gotten bills passed, who's been on the Hill, who's been at the border, who knows all about this. And I'm telling you, the difference night and day when she talks about her job under the previous administration and the current administration feels like new hope, a new day. And that should matter because this stuff is not political. Everyone knows, look, I'm a partisan. I work in this stuff. I'm on the political side. But hopefully everybody can take off their jerseys and just listen to these stories and just feel human and appreciate the stories and the journey of what's going on and be thankful that there is improvement. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you very much.
I do think Allie seems like a very nice woman, and I'm sorry if I was, I know you've told some people about me, on, and as they don't, and of course these people probably don't understand that I've been like in a Clubhouse war. This is like my third account today. And I do say some things that are very, people think I'm offensive, and that's fine. But Allie, no, I have nothing bad to say about you.
Yeah, good room, guys. It's been a great room.
I haven't heard anything bad.
And Allie, I just want to say, I don't know what you've heard about it when they changed the registration rules to include a 10-year difference, but the Democrats in California completely and effectively gaslighted the right on that law. But they did change it to make it easier for people to get off of the sex offender registry under the guise of that it was disproportionately affecting gay people, specifically gay men. But I'm going to put a link in the chat that shows the exact statute in 2018 that did not have the 10-year age difference exception, and then the 2022 change in the law that shows that they did add the 10-year exception. And what that means is that a person who's 25 can have sex with a 15-year-old, and that they can get off the sexual, even if they're convicted, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, depending on the level of offense, what tier of offender the tier does make a difference. But if they're on, I believe, the lowest two tiers, they can get off the sex registry. They can get off the sex registry, and then you can have a pedophile living in your neighborhood and you don't know about it. And this is in California, where California and Texas, that's where a large number of those sex traffickers and those sex trafficked children are coming across. And California made it easier for them to hide. I'll put the link in the chat.
But aren't those level 1 things like people peeing in front of a school or something like that?
No, it's having sex. It includes having sex with a minor.
All right, I have a question for Ali. Have you seen that movie?
By the way, guys, I know that you guys got in the habit of calling it that. It's Ali.
What?
You guys are calling like Ali. Yeah, I was just making sure you guys understood it's Ali, not like Prince Ali. Also, we have one of the most unhinged, very, very depressed individuals in the chat, Momo. I would invite him up to the stage if you'd like to squabble, sir. Anyway, go ahead, please, with your questions. Yeah.
He's crashing out in the chat. We don't need that up here. But I was gonna ask her if she's seen the movie Sound of Freedom, and how accurate is that to, I guess, real life, situations on the border?
Great question. It's very accurate. I actually hadn't seen Sound of Freedom until recently because I lived it and because I work in it, and so it was very tough for me on my downtime to watch, a movie like that. But I did watch it. The only thing that I wish that it did, but although it did a lot and it was very accurate, very, very accurate, was that a lot of people woke up to it, but then they think that it's just happening, in Central America, South America. They're not thinking that that same scenario can play out, maybe not exactly in that way, because you have, those rogue people living in the jungle. But I digress. The point is that a lot of people don't think that human trafficking and sex trafficking is happening in that way in the United States, and it is. I mean, you guys, there was a news thing that came out about a month ago where they actually found a bunker with minor children being housed in it in Alabama, and I believe the age ranges were from, don't quote me on this, but it was like 5 to 14, and there were, I think, about 10 children that were being housed on there, and that's domestic children. So people need to understand that this is a problem.
Those were all, if I recall correctly, because I did see that news article, and I remember reading through it, but these were all white, non-Latino, it did not appear to involve smugglers from out of the country.
No,
obviously they're not going to name the children.
About the numbers here, and I'm wondering how they get into this ring. What's the number one method?
The number one is foster care and runaways. But you are right, the internet is assisting in that for individuals that aren't identified in the foster care system or runaways, but foster care and runaways are the highest level for the United States, along with generational and familial trafficking.
Roblox, right? I'm a lot of them off Roblox right now.
Oh yeah, Roblox is bad. Roblox has been bad for a very long time, but the biggest one is Snapchat for apps, and Discord is pretty bad too.
You think it's only specific to California being lenient or almost condoning this type of behavior? Is it across the majority of the states in America?
Again, I'm not trying to drive a wedge between red and blue, but what we've seen historically is that the states that are more lenient on crimes like this tend to be more liberal cities and states. And so I actually moved to Florida from Minnesota, and they had the same policy in place where you could, if a child could get to Minnesota, the state would take custody, and then they could perform the transition surgery without the parents' approval or guardian approval, because the state took temporary authority of the child, and then they'd send the child back on their way back to their parents after they were done. But Minnesota is bad as well. There's a lot of states that don't have the proper laws in place to protect children.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate that we kind of have created a whole society that has been like enabling this in a way by, first of all, promoting. There's some people, who are, supporting like women becoming sex workers, first of all. So that's not a great thing. We have people who are trying to euphemize the word pedophiles by calling them, minor attracted people. There are adults who like to dress up in bras and thongs and shit in front of kids and read them books. And then, people who want to write books to little kids, telling them that jerking off at 8 years old is totally fine. So there's a whole culture that is kind of trying to make people numb to this and trying to make it seem normal. Not to mention the whole justice system that does not prosecute these people how they should be prosecuted, which I personally think if there's like DNA proof and video proof, that you should get the capital punishment. But there's definitely a lot of shit going on.
Hey, Matt, you need to take care of this. The way he's talking to women, dude, throw him out, dude. This is just inappropriate.
Let normal crash out, man.
No, he shouldn't be allowed to talk to women like he's talking to women in the chat. Matt, I'm going to look at you differently if you don't kick him out. It's just disgusting. He should not be able to talk to women that way. Especially on some anon-cuck profile.
No, I know he's talking about Momo.
Yeah, Joe, like, who are you talking about?
He's talking
Matt, take care of business.
Yeah, we need to get rid of the minor attracted persons term. That's a way to like soften the blow. Really, it is a pedophile. It is a child predator, and we need to call it what it is. And we need to protect children at all costs. Every single child matters. So when we pass that the grooming law, the anti-grooming law in Florida, we actually had Gays Against Groomers. We brought them on board because we wanted the LGBTQ community to not think that this was going after them. It was really to protect children.
Hang on, Allie. Matt and Beaver, I'm going to keep asking you to do this until you do what needs to be done as a man. You don't let what he's saying about women stand. Throw him out.
I'll just do a warning. I'll tell them to stop, or we'll go from there.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Allie. I apologize to interrupt your intelligence.
No worries. We just need to not be afraid of labels. We need to not be afraid of being called names, because really at the end of the day, no one's going to protect our children like we do. And so we just need to be staunch advocates for children. It really doesn't matter what kind of child, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, doesn't matter. Even immigration status at this point, when you're talking about protecting children from adults preying on them, that's where we need to be that unifying force. When I testified a month ago, it's really sad because the Democratic congressmen and women had an opportunity to unite under the issue of protecting children and finding these missing children. And what was a 3-hour hearing ended up being 7 hours because they just stonewalled and distracted and wanted to talk about Epstein. And, great, talk about Epstein, have a separate hearing, but this hearing was on the missing children. And so if you can't unite under one common focal point of protecting children and finding missing children, I don't know what else is going to unite us.
I just want to say, you gotta be a real demon to be derailing the room. Wow, Ali is
I know, dude. It's so bad. Matt, dude, I don't know why you're putting up with it,
I'm
dude.
all ears right now listening to Ali.
What Ali's saying is literally a blessing, and we have to deal with this demonic freak in the chat.
Yeah, there's no way that my soul could allow me to derail a room of this stature, with this subject matter, because this is someone straight from the source. And I mean, I can read about it, I can watch the films on it, but I've never been in proximity to someone that's actually doing the work on it. So I'm all ears. Thank you.
No, thank you guys for asking good questions. I really appreciate it. I know it's a heavy subject, so, depending on what time zone you're in, some people they can't stomach the conversation, but I appreciate you guys asking good questions.
I have a question for you. So, as much as I have a lot of negative things to say about Islam and Islamic countries, how are they able to accomplish this? Like pedophilia and women raping and all that is like almost zero in most of the Middle East countries, like Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. You take any country, right? But so if they were able to accomplish that, like, is this something to do with law and order? Or is it something to do with religion, or is it something to do with education? Like, where do you think the biggest fix to this problem comes, and like how do we make that part of the society standards?
That's a really good question. It's a really tough question because one of the tenets of Islam is that they have law built in and embedded within their religion, and so it's challenging because it's not compatible with the Constitution. It's not compatible with the laws that we have in place. And so without being able to separate out and say, okay, you must adhere to the Constitution, you must adhere to our laws, it's really hard for people to separate that. I know that there are people that practice Islam that aren't raping children and aren't raping women, but there are things that they don't do that.
One is, it is part of the religion in a way, and they have extreme religious moral standards when it comes to these kind of things. But also the other thing is, if you look at it from a law and order perspective, that calls for public execution, or to be beheaded in public on the streets. Or such.
Yeah, but the problem with Islam is that, first of all, I don't even want to go down this road, but
I don't know. No.
Well, hold on, hold on a second. Yes, I know. They lay down the rule of law very harshly. Sharia law does. I agree 100%. Now, however, do you know who you have to, in order to be the best Muslim? Do you know you
Hang on a second. That Momo is Edmund. So that means that this room is being recorded? No, I was talking about Mojo.
Mojo, Roger. Not Roger. So basically, Roger became back on Mojo. Mojo, and then so Roger ended up deleting his account, and then then Mojo, I guess, is John Kitover, whatever the fuck he calls himself now.
That's Edmund down there.
Yeah, Matt, why are you okay with this?
Well, he's recording anyways. At this point, who cares,
They can come in.
Anyways, the difference. Hold
the
on.
hell out of women, dude.
It's not Momo. I'm talking about Mojo, Steven.
Joe, I'm talking about Momo. Listen what I'm saying.
Momo, we know who they are. Just don't worry about it. Just ignore it. If they become a problem going forward, I'll take care of it. Bear, don't worry about it.
They are a problem, dude.
No, they're not. Not that I told them to stop it. No.
I'll just say this. Okay, the difference between we can look at the other two Abrahamic religions. I think it's obnoxious we even have to include them in the Abrahamic religions. But with that being said, living your life as the Prophet Muhammad is he was the perfect man, and you should live your life like him. Now he was a warlord, he was a pedophile, he did horrible shit, and to try to sit here and say like, oh, but they're very law and order. Amazing. So you want to have law and order on the side of protecting pedophiles and warlords? What the fuck is this bullshit?
All right,
I don't need this.
I'm just going to be honest with you. I pinged in a whole bunch of people into this room for a good conversation with Allie. If the hosts are literally okay with the psychopath in the chat, then I would encourage all the people to leave. This is wrong, dude. This is wrong.
Just kick the goofy out, man. Somebody put in the chat, freedom of speech equals one is harassment. This is crazy. This is crazy.
I have no idea what's going on here. You guys know I don't read the fucking chat when I'm in rooms.
Yeah, I don't either. I just looked at it and that's the first comment I see.
All right, so you want me to remove Momo? Is that what the request is?
He gotta go. Or what did Momo do?
They go?
Momo gotta go.
Don't stop the conversation. Let me, I guess, I don't know. Momo,
Have we heard from Callie? If Momo can't come up here and explain himself, then he gotta go.
Thanks, Allie, for your story, for your work.
Oh, thank you, Callie. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy work, obviously, but I have 2 young kids. They're in elementary school, so it is tough to make sure that you don't bring that home to them. But really, at the end of the day, it's really important, and people need to know, and they need to become aware of it. When people think it's a partisan issue, I mean, yeah, the borders under the prior administration really pointed to that because our taxpayer dollars paid for it. And we've spoken with cartel members that knew that our taxpayer dollars were paying for us to transport kids anywhere that they wanted. And so they used our taxpayer dollars to pay for the transportation of these kids wherever the cartels wanted them to go. And so they exploited our kindness. And I guess not even kindness. It's not our choice to pay taxes, but our taxes were used to do this.
I think we should get back on the main topic. I think on silence, do you have that clip queued up at all that I was asking about?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Yeah, let's because we're just going to talk about exactly what Trump said today, if people have issues with that, and what have you.
Okay, here we go.
Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. We took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it.
Amazing.
Well, but
I don't see what's so controversial, but yeah.
There's a lot of pearl clutching for people. He's pretty much saying that people who are willing to kill kids and do all this shit like traffic, they're not fixable. They're irredeemable. So I don't know why people are offended by this.
I agree. Well, because you have a bunch of. So what we had was weird in this room is the black. It was mostly black men, and there was I believe one black woman. That and they were all like basically on the side of what Trump was saying, and he's talking about hardened criminals. He's talking, and literally he was referring to the hardcore criminals. if you look in the state prisons, whatever, you get people of all colors and ethnicities that are hardcore criminals that have, like, literally since they were kids, all throughout their fucking life, they commit crimes. And he's talking about, like, the worst types of crimes. Like, he mentioned slitting a throat, not feeling bad the next day. These people do exist. Do I think you rehabilitate people like that? Not really. And for some reason, it's like, oh, he's saying, like, the poor or the blacks are... No, he's talking about hardcore criminals.
Well, I don't know. Lefties can't just repeat what he says. They have to infer things and make up shit because they're just deranged people.
Just really wild because, like, living in states where there's a white majority, not... I think, actually, I don't know if my state is, but I think it's still a white majority. But I mean, talking about other states like Montana, Alaska, and Maine, everything all over. And, like, when people commit, like, when people do things like stick a gun in your face and try to relieve you of your property, they do any of this shit. Like, they get really hard time in comparison to what you would get in, many of these states. Or even places that aren't states, like the District of Columbia, where I was born. I just find it to be, like, silly. And it's like, oh, you're just trying to go hard on the niggas. No, like, dude, white people are not given a fucking... They get the book thrown at them. And that's that. In these white majority states, where it's somewhat peaceful, and they might. Did
you say they get the book thrown at them? When was the last time you read a book?
That might be a little bit extreme. Yeah, you do.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, not at all. If you look at states like Idaho, Montana, Alaska, Maine.
Pepe, you're just repeating yourself. You're not listening. All you do is say the same thing every single night.
You do this fucking crime. Like, you get way more time, and like some of my brother's friends were thrown in prison in Montana.
Pepe, you just say the same
holy
thing.
shit, he got 12 years for that? Whoa, dude. Like, they don't fuck around. And, like, Montana's prisons are, Montana's a mostly white state, and I don't know. It's just like they think that somehow, it's a bunch of black people, and they just want to subjugate them, keep them down. White people do not tolerate this behavior amongst themselves, and it's just like once they try to have, like, a universal standard where it includes black people. It's just like, oh my God, it's racism. It's horrible. It's why do black people want to play victim and allow themselves to be continually victimized by the most rotten pieces of shit in their community? That is, like, the real question you need to ask.
So, I ain't got no problem with what Trump said. Right? None whatsoever. And far as not tolerating it, white people not tolerating it, Pepper, we just had a 30-minute discussion about what we are tolerating in America.
Pepe is a total moron who lives to talk.
Amazing.
Yeah, you know what? I caught while Trump was campaigning, I caught many sound bites. But one sound bite where I was like, okay, he has my vote. He said, we're going to go after the cartels. And then after that, we're going to go to the inner cities because they're real bad. And we're going to clean them up. He says they're real bad. And me being an African American and me understanding the psyche of some of the brothers or whatever that have gone astray. It's gotten real bad, and it's gotten to the point of no return. Can you heal Can you heal a few of them? Yeah, you can heal a few of them. But what I know about studying psychology and trauma and the type of healing that one would need and the type of attention one would need, these brothers are gone. You listen to the music, you listen to the mentalities to take a life like it's nothing, to take a life like it's GTA or a video game, and you watch some of these. A lot of people come over from Europe to do interviews to the different gangs or whatever, and they're like, man, this started a long time in the 80s and 90s, where somebody took my uncle's life, and we'll never forgive them. It's always going to be bloodshed. It's going to be bloodshed even for our future children. It's always going to be a war. So when he said that, and I'm looking at my kids, and I want them to be safe, and I'm like, yeah, he has my vote. And he stood by his promise. And he's going to go to these inner cities and clean them up so that we can walk around and people can go eat in Chicago, and kids don't have to worry about bullets flying through the window and taking an innocent life. And so I'm all for it.
I'm all for it as well. And yeah, like do whatever you gotta do to that small, minute percentage that's carrying on like they're carrying on. Yeah, but I wouldn't say Trump has taken care of the problem. We haven't seen that yet. I will say he's addressed, like publicly addressing it, but as far as taking care of it, I want to see it.
Yeah, he hasn't taken care of it. I would say, like, you can look at countries like Corsica, for example, which, I've trolled people for years that I'm Corsican. That's where I find it kind of funny. That's where I'm finding JB's shit. I didn't, make it a central part. I just thought it was funny. Because of some historical things that they did. Before I came on this app, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm like half Corsican or something. Shit. I'm not half Corsican, but with that being said, the Corsicans, they are I wouldn't say a crime-ridden shithole, but they're a group of people in France that have a lot of issues, and they've lost a substantial amount of their population. I forget the percentage. It's well into the double digits, where they had blood feuds, where they just continually killed each other, and it is even still. I don't know if it's still like that today, but where if somebody kills a family member, it is you're looked at as very weak and in a way immoral if you're not going to atone for that act that was committed against your family by not killing the person who did it. And even if it involves like killing some of their family members. And so it's like I do think that if you look today, would it be better if they did not have that type of outlook on life? Yeah, like obviously. But my first job out of college, working as a case manager with seriously mentally ill people, like in the Native American reservations, that was one of the things that was kind of a mind fuck. Like you go and see, I would visit them, and this was back in before 2010. I'll just say that, and they're getting a lot more money now. They were starting to get a lot of money at that time because of the casinos they were opening and the resorts that they've since opened. They're doing a lot better, but the intergenerational dysfunction was like out of control. Like this reservation before they had casinos and stuff was dirt fucking poor, absolutely dirt poor. then you had the per cap checks that came every 4 months or every 3 months, excuse me. And then you would see like an explosion of domestic violence, just a lot of criminal behavior. Money actually caused a lot of the problems. And so with and of course their own sovereign nation, they would put people on forced payees. They would get them forced payees almost immediately, so that they could not go out and do their benders on drugs and do whatever. And they basically ended up having a lot of people that were hired to, and I wasn't one of them. I just, I worked in the county, but not up for the reservation. They ended up, getting a lot of substance abuse treatment, a lot of shit to cure them. But one of the things I remember asking myself, I remember at the time, it's like, dude, I wish I was one. And to my dad, he was like a federal judge. And I was just like, dude, I wish I was one of them. I can get in whatever fucking college I want. I can do whatever. My dad, he's like a conservative guy. He's not like far right, far left, whatever. He's like, no, you would just be drinking beer and being a piece of shit just like one of them. And, I kind of had to think about it. And he's probably correct. I mean, if I'm being honest. And and I think still to this day, one of the hardest things to do is how do you break that cycle? Where like literally your parents were drug addicted to alcohol, criminal, they were neglectful. That is your normal. How do you change that overnight without a very drastic change? Now this so happens to be a small reservation where they are literally connected to a very wealthy suburb of Phoenix, and it's a tourist destination. And okay, they can fix it somewhat, and they're doing better from what I've heard. I haven't been in that field like for almost 20 years, and
the answer to your question is his faith in Jesus Christ. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's ultimately what it is. But look, I want to go back to what Duve said about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has not finished the job yet. But the job does need us to help finish the job. Donald Trump is showing what true leadership is like in this country. He's inspired me only more to dig in deeper and build my business bigger and stronger than ever before. That's why I don't come around this app very often, because I'm trying to make America great again. It's time to be part of the solution. Donald Trump ain't going to be able to come in and solve all of our country's problems. If you're not trying to help yourself, help your family, help your friends, make this country better, it's not going to help Trump finish the job. So we need to help finish the job. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for. We got a guy that's looking out for our back. He's trying to keep the drugs off the streets. He's trying to clean up the crime, get the homeless people some help. It's not all going to be, a final situation where only Trump can solve it and his actions can solve it. It's going to take all of us. We can have a better society, but there's over 300 million people here. We got to start working at it together.
Everyone hates Monica because she too is a moron. She pretends to be an educator, but she's never read a book.
You know what I mean? Like a race war. Just get things out the way.
What's that going to solve?
How did he turn this into a race issue? Holy shit.
Well, what's a race war actually going to solve?
I mean, we're about to head to a race war, though.
We're really not, bro. That's not going to happen.
I mean,
realistically, it's not going to happen, right?
Joe, this guy's not very smart. So.
But a race war won't ever happen. I can promise you that.
If there was ever going to be any real war, I mean, I would say, and I'm just, in like next few years, which I don't think is going to happen, it would be predominantly white on white, and it would be powerful, and wealthy people that are white on both sides that would be basically fueling it and funding it. So
good point. It's a class war for it would be a class war.
And that's what I'm saying. Like under Trump, as Black people become wealthier, as we come to understand where we are in this nation and our place in it, and all the liberties and the benefits, and we look around and we see people watching us. I'm seeing a lot of black and white unity, actually people coming together because on the same tenements where they want safe neighborhoods. They're tired of the senseless crime. They're tired of just people dying in the neighborhoods. And like I said, I'm seeing blacks and whites, especially the black men and the white men, come together under Trump. And I think that's the future of the country. I think so.
I'm in the last few minutes, but there's no. Joe, did you say there's no way you can ever see under any condition or circumstance that a race war would happen?
Yeah, under no condition will there ever be a race war.
What about when resources are like, it's basically a fight for resources? Do you not see it? Part of me thinks it would end up like a prison, they segregate based on prison, or do you really think the class would stick together?
Democrats have their way, there will be a race war and a class war, but they're losing so much work, and people are tired of this bullshit.
So, I mean, let's look at what we were. Would you consider Democrats burning down Democrat neighborhoods and Democrat cities a war? Right? So, like, what we've seen already is this pattern where elites, like what they did with the BLM protests that were turned into riots, was agitators with Democrat protesters burning down Democrat neighborhoods in Democrat cities. So when I think of a war, I think of it as there being actual opposition. So like Democrat versus Republican, or white versus black, right? Or even rich versus poor. But what we've seen so far is just the same groups burning their own neighborhoods down. People that come into those.
No violence in the red states, right?
Well, we do. We have blue cities, bro.
The same shit, bro.
No, we have blue cities.
No, in the red states they lock you up. No, the red states lock you the fuck up.
No, but we have crime in the red states, but we have blue cities. We have New Orleans, one of the highest murder rates. It's been Democrat for 130 years. The city police are ran by Democrats. The county and in New Orleans' parish are ran by Democrats. So what I would see is the Democrats eating themselves first.
Let me give you this stat, man. Let me give you this stat that I've been saving. So it says 13 of the top 20 cities that lead in homicide are governed by Republicans.
That's not true. No, it's not true. Name the mayors.
Yeah, in the South. What it says is what he's saying is somewhat true.
No, it's not true. Okay, so name the mayors. Let's ask him, Mike. Name the mayors.
No. He said govern. No, but
cities aren't governed by the states. Cities. Okay, but I know governors.
Yeah, sure. But he said govern. In other words, the governors are. They're a Republican. However, if you look at this up, exactly. No, that's the point I'm trying to make. That's the point I'm trying to make. If we were to look at, we can look at